This is a demonstration of the diaphragm opener. As Ashley and I spoke on in our earlier introductory section, this exercise for herself personally has been helpful for her athletic performance, but not only that, for also her spiritual walk as well, as she described. And so this exercise, although it certainly facilitates a physical openness to better breathing mechanisms, more space for the lower body or for the lower lungs to expand, this is really a full invitation to improving cognitive clarity, mental health, emotional intelligence, and perhaps as a result, relational and spiritual consequences as well. And so I'm going to demonstrate how to facilitate this as for a client, as well as how you can equip someone to do this on their own as well. And so the first thing that I'm going to do with a client is just have them start to be intentional about their breath, that they breathe in and out through their nose. Because this is a very opening exercise, what I want is to help them facilitate a posture or environment that's comfortable. So generally being in spaces that have less distractions, maybe some gentle music, or being away from a large crowd of people would be very helpful. Something else I'm going to add here is just having her open up her arms a little bit, maybe even just kind of letting her legs fall to the side, inviting her to close her eyes, and paying attention to those components of breath anatomy or mechanics that we spoke about earlier. The idea of breathing through her nose, breathing with enough volume that I can actually see her breath. And then if we see a lot of movement up in the chest, I want to have her actually moving her diaphragm. So I may even have her place a hand on her belly and invite her to start filling the belly or that lower torso space with each breath. And then after I allow her to get a few breaths like that, what we're going to do is locate the diaphragm. Now, in order to do so, we're first looking for the bottom edge of the rib cage. If you just palpitate this on yourself right now, you can feel the point at which you go from bone to more the soft area in the belly. And so it's always really important to take a posture that isn't too threatening, not standing over the top of the person, but really being more off to the side of them, especially maybe in a male-female dynamic or depending on differences in age or backgrounds. These can be things to consider as well. It's very difficult to facilitate an opening experience for someone if we're adding to any stress of the environment. And so communicating to the client that where I'm gonna be placing my hands on the rib cage. Again, we're just kind of familiarizing ourselves with the anatomy here because this might be a little bit different for everyone. And as she continues to breathe in the same manner through her nose, slowly, diaphragmatically, I'm just going to use either my thumbs or my four fingers to press in slightly, so almost up and behind her rib cage. And you can see she continues to breathe into her belly, and so I'm going to feel some pressure beneath my fingertips here. And with each exhale, I may try to press in just slightly more. Now, I'm going to watch your body for cues such as tensing up of the shoulders, scrunching up of the face, things that, or maybe even just vocalizing, things that indicate that the pressure might be too much. I'm going to try to meet her in that discomfort, just kind of right at the point that it's creating pressure, it's creating maybe some degree of discomfort, but not pain. Now, typically, as you move around, you may notice that one side, left or right, is tighter than the other. And so if that's the case, and with Ashley, her left side is a little bit tighter, I know that because I feel it, and we also can engage, and I can ask for her feedback about it. So I may actually focus my attention over on this side. And again, continue to have her breathe for a minute or so. Now, typically, some things that we can see as well that can kind of affirm this left to right difference is that this isn't always the case, but I may notice, which I do with Ashley, that her left leg turns out a little bit more, or the same side shoulder may also be more elevated. Again, these can be cues that kind of help us see which side is experiencing more tension or not. And so what I want to do is, again, facilitate this for a few minutes, but I want to give Ashley the opportunity to be able to do this by herself, something that she can do at home and on her own time. And so typically something like a softball size object is ideal. We don't want anything too small. And the best way to help someone facilitate this initially, because it can be difficult to identify where to place this, is to actually have her palpitate herself with her fingers, place that ball into that softer area, again, not on the rib cage, but just beneath it. And then from that position to just roll over. So now Ashley's going to continue to just breathe slowly, breathe nasally. And this posture is something we will see pretty typically for someone just starting off. Because of the tension, because of the discomfort, they'll typically place themselves up on their elbows. Now, we don't want to force our way into this exercise. This isn't something that should end up causing a sensation of bruising in the following days, but we do want to encourage to slowly start working down to a more level or flat posture. So with each exhale, I may encourage her to try to relax into that a little bit more to kind of meet that pain or discomfort point without it being forced. And again, I may be watching her for signals of that, making sure that she's continuing to breathe, that she's breathing more in that hip and belly space as well. Now, it is really important to communicate with your client, or even for you facilitating this for yourself, some of the outcomes that can come in doing the diaphragm opener. Because the diaphragm is so central to our fascial networks, which, as we will be talking about, relates so intimately with our emotional experiences, with our past experiences. There can be a lot more than just physical things that happen here. Now, physically, it wouldn't be abnormal for Ashley to maybe hear some fluids gurgling through her body. It might not be unusual for her to experience a heat wave or to get a little bit more sweaty, for her skin to feel a little bit tingly, or even to feel the fascial tensions, pulls, release at different points in her body, maybe her shoulders, her hips, her hamstrings, etc. Again, because of the digestive process that can start to release here, there may even be a need for a restroom break. Now, at an emotional level, typically because of the relationship of grief and anger with the lungs, those may be the most common responses that take place here. Now, the anger mechanism may simply be an agitation or an avoidance to the exercise, or their perception or a little bit frustration towards you as a facilitator. Whereas grief, it's not entirely uncommon for there to be a flow of tears that come in practicing an exercise such as this. Then finally, the cognitive responses that can happen here. Sometimes it's something as a simple memory, maybe something that happened that was very inconsequential yesterday or last week that perhaps you never thought that you would think about again. And sometimes that can be things that are suppressed from a lot further in your past, things that may have been more traumatic, or again, maybe didn't seem super consequential at the time, but now your body starts to actually bring that back to your conscious brain as well. And so as you guys practice this exercise, just again, making sure that you know that, making sure that you facilitate that and with an education on that, so that there are no surprises, so that people understand the full picture of what this exercise is about.